Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, people. Midweek report time. Once again. Business will resume after today on the channel. Do you know this is the least I've uploaded in nearly 3 years, and it shows in the lack of growth the last week. I went from getting 500 subs a month. Now, I still had a good August, but could have been better if I'd actually put the flipping effort in. So now we're back to business after today. We're going to premiere the hell out of this, and whatever issues we have, we're going to get over them, get through them. Now, get into this midweek report. Robert Garcia, Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua posted a picture of him in Finchley ABC. Now, when I seen that, I was thinking, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I'll tell you why. Because one of the criticisms of Anthony Joshua pre-Oleksandr Usyk 2 was that he didn't really get himself out of his comfort zone. And I'll get to this quote now in a sec. But he didn't really get himself out of his comfort zone. And in fact, this phone is dying of juice pretty damn quick. So this might be a two-parter. But he didn't really get himself out of his comfort zone. He would always be with Rob McCracken. He would be up in Sheffield, the Team GB gym. It was rinse and repeat. Now with Robert Garcia was basically saying that he wants AJ back in America, to quote him here. I told Anthony and his team the best way to keep working together is if he comes to train in my gym in California 8 weeks before a fight. I told Anthony, I need you to be around more fighters for competition. And I have to say, just that alone, I'm looking at that and I'm like, that to me is good. That to me is an extra incentive. You see, one thing I wonder about, and I wondered about this with Andy Ruiz when he went to Eddie Reynoso. Clearly it didn't work. But when you're around, now bear in mind, they might not be in your weight division, but just to be around someone like a Canelo, to be around someone like a Triple G. I remember Morak Gassiev, when Triple G was trained by Abel Sanchez, Morak Gassiev at the time was still just a contender in the cruiserweight division. He's subsequently gone up to heavyweight. But he would speak about training around Triple G, and that gave him that extra motivation. Bear in mind, they're separated middleweight, cruiserweight, but being around someone who has done what you want to do and is now achieving things that you want to achieve, of course it's going to motivate you. You know, and you could say, well, gee, that's a young fighter. AJ is a... At the end of the day, when you have equal hunger in that camp, so yeah, AJ's achieved tremendous in the sport, but let's look at some of the other fighters that Robert Garcia has coming up. Bam Rodriguez. I mean, I think he is tremendous. I've said that once, I'll say it again. I think he's absolutely tremendous. And I think someone like him, he's a super flyweight. AJ's a heavyweight. But Zach could actually bring. You see these young guys, you think, hey, it's like I maybe have been there, worn a t-shirt, but I still got something to give. These young guys, I can keep, not in the same training regime, if you know what I mean, but in terms of matching their hunger, their tenacity. He also says that AJ, he says, it comments that AJ was mentally defeated against Oleksandr Usyk, misinterpreted from Spanish to English. They make it seem like I was talking something. I never said that about my fighter. He's referring to AJ being mentally... Look, a lot of people are making it out that AJ... Look, I'm sure he was fatigued mentally by all the movement that Oleksandr Usyk did in the feints. I've no doubt about that. But people kind of think that Usyk broke him down mentally in terms of that was the outburst. I said it at the time. I stand by it now. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. And we had seen hints of that over the years, that was on the horizon, with at certain points in AJ's career. But at the end of the day, I think it was just inevitable. If it wasn't now, it would be eventually, where he would just have one of them moments where he just grabs the mic and says what he said, So I don't necessarily, I wouldn't go as far as saying Usyk mentally destroyed him, because some people have said that. I don't think he did. I think fatigued him mentally, no doubt, in both fights. Of course it would fatigue you. You're only human. You're a fighter. Like, when you see someone with that kind of movement, that kind of angles, who's feinting you, who's hitting you, who's so quick, Usyk's tremendous. That will fatigue you mentally. I don't care who you are. That's going to fatigue you mentally. But in terms of the outburst, I suspect that was Anthony Joshua just venting. I really do. I think that was him just venting. Now, there's a fight being planned, and this is really... This right here, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, really? Jarrell Big Farmer Miller looks set to take on Lucas Big Daddy Brown, who's also had his fair of Big Pharma issues, is agreed to take place possibly on November 13th in Abu Dhabi or November 26th O2 Arena on Daniel Dubois' undercard. Now, no one has been announced as the opponent for Daniel Dubois. The original date that I was told was October 29th. Now, I'll touch on that now in a sec. But Miller is going to have a run out on October 3rd against a guy called Ebenezer Tete in Kazakhstan. He's going all around the world, isn't he? Where was it? Mexico, America, now Kazakhstan. So obviously, I can't believe that he was able to get back so quick after everything. But hey, Ebenezer Tete, I have seen Ebenezer Tete fight. He's absolutely garbage. Daniel Dubois knocked him out. That was him. Yeah, knocked him out in a round about 3 years ago now. That was actually for a silver. Was it for a silver? It was definitely for, might have even been for a Commonwealth title actually. It was for one of them titles, silver or Commonwealth title with the WBC or just the Commonwealth. Yeah, Ebenezer Tete is a small heavyweight. And a small heavyweight against Jarrell Miller will look like a flipping flyweight against Jarrell Miller. He's massive. But him against Lucas Brown, the battle of the failed PED tests. I mean, Lucas Brown, you know, I remember at the time when he failed that, it was Clen he tested positive for clenbuterol against Shigayev back in 2016. And that performance, like, at the time, and it's a real, that one right there is a real interesting one, because Shigayev, when he was fighting Ruslan Shigayev, he fought in Chechnya over there in Grozny in Russia. Now, he fought for Kendo in 2014, and Kendo made claims after the fight that he was threatened in the lift that if he knocked Shigayev out, they would not be leaving Grozny. Alright? Shigayev is best friends with the president of Grozny. I can't remember, or the president of Chechnya. I can't remember his name. Roman something or something like that. I can't remember his name. Very distinctive look on him. I know his dad was assassinated back in 2004. God, I can't remember the name. I think it's Roman something or something like that. Where's that effect? Very close with him. Sparred him. Ringside for all of his fights. And he was ringside for that fight in Chechnya. So I did find, and Lucas Brown was worried about drug tests going into that fight. And he actually paid out of his own money. This is not a rich man. He was promoted by Ricky Hatton at the time. Paid out of his own pocket. VADA drug testing. And he failed after the fight, which you gotta be absolutely stupid to do that. Take something the week of the fight, knowing you're going to get tested after the fight and knowing you're going to fail. He tested positive for Clen. Now, Clen is, more often than not, it's a diuretic. Is what it's used for cutting weight. He's a heavyweight, doesn't need to cut weight. He didn't look amazing. He was getting beaten soundly by Shigayev until he landed a big right hand. But he showed more grit and tenacity in that fight than we ever seen, and a great level of fitness, which was unusual for Lucas Brown, because he'd normally been seen as someone who didn't have the best of stamina. Having heard all that, I just assumed, okay, he's been set up. And then he was meant to fight, I think it was Shannon Briggs, for the regular WBA title, which is the one he won against Shigayev, in November, December of 2016, same year. The WBA kind of, they gave him a little slap on the wrist and said, well, you can't keep your title, but you'll fight for the vacant one. How's that sound? So he's meant to go in there with Shannon Briggs, November, December 2016, can't remember the exact dates. And he fails again. I think this one was for Osterine, the drug Povetkin failed for. And I just thought, what the hell? Like, could he actually be that stupid that he would seriously take a PED in the week of a fight, knowing he'd get found out? Obviously would get tested and instantly would get found out. Could he be that stupid? Maybe. After that, I was like, hey. And to see the regression in Lucas Brown, I mean, 2 years later, he went in there with Dylan White. He looked terrible. Looked like a shot fighter. He only had one fight in 2 years. It's not like he was taking a great deal of abuse. So, that's his story. Miller, I mean, everyone knows what that guy has done. You know, I'd say down there has got to be like 2 little pebbles at this stage. That much has gone into him. So the battle of the PED users, it's set to take place, as I said, on Daniel Dubois' undercard at the O2 Arena on November 26th. Yeah, I'm hearing that's against Dylan White. In spite of what Eddie Hearn has been saying, and others, that's set to be against Dylan White. That's what I'm hearing. Obviously, it wasn't ideal that Hunter versus Fury was going to happen on the October 29th. So it's been, but it looks things pushed back an extra couple of weeks. And that's interesting because you never know. I might even get over to that. That's an interesting fight. That'd be pay-per-view, definitely. But, yeah, the battle of the... That really is a... Like, Miller should win that. He's not looked near as bad as Lucas Brown has looked. I mean, I still can't quite get over the fact that Lucas Brown beat Junior Fan around. I mean, that was just... I still kind of... You know, when it's like... I remember staying up for that fight. For that was Kambosos and Haney. And I was a bit tired at that point because I don't normally do an all-nighter. Normally I wake up. But this time I done it all night. And I was like, am I hallucinating because of lack of sleep here? Or did that actually just happen? And then you're like, no, it just happened. That's pretty damn crazy. Anything can happen in boxing. And it usually does. So there was just, we have confirmation as well now that Bivol will take on Ramirez in Abu Dhabi on November 5th. I mean, that's such a good fight. I know some people look at Dimitri Bivol and say, look, he's not the most entertaining. And he's not the most entertaining. But Zurdo, I think he's tremendous. I've always, ever since the first time I seen him was against Vlasov back in 2015. And that win aged so much better when Vlasov, we saw what he went on to do, Maxim Vlasov. And I thought, like, he doesn't look that good. He looked a bit, struggled a bit with Vlasov. And again, to put it in context, the win has aged a lot better. That was a 22, 23-year-old Zurdo. Very young. Went in there against Arthur Abraham, didn't lose a round. Did a better job on Abraham than Eubank Jr. did. And that's I've seen both fights repeatedly. And I stand by what I say. He did a better job on Abraham than Eubank did. And that was for a WBO title. Defended it several times, beat Jesse Hart. Very close, but beat him both times legit. As he's gone up to light heavyweight, I liked what I see in him. He's huge at the weight. He's got power. I think he's going to be very dangerous for Gilberto Ramirez. And I think that in some ways, Canelo may prefer if Ramirez does win, because maybe he'll feel it's an easier fight for him than going in there against Bivol again. And at the end of the day, it's a bigger fight. Some people could say, well, he's rematching Bivol. He wants to get that win back. You're going to have a shot against, assuming Zurdo wins, which is, I'm not picking him to win, but say he did, I wouldn't rule it out. Cinco de Mayo weekend, all Mexican affair for a WBA regular title. It would sell, and it would sell again. So I'm sure Canelo was thinking, hey, I'll have you if you beat him. And I'm sure Zurdo knows that as well. And there's footage of them two sparring years ago. It's very good if you should watch it, actually, if you haven't seen it. Purse bids today, yesterday, for Zepeda versus Prograis. That's going to be interesting. There was also a purse bid for Boazzi versus Pascal. And it was won by, where is it? It was won by Mr. I Support the Current Thing, Lou DeBella. He won the purse bid. He outbid Eddie Hearn by 100 grand. So I know the plan for Eddie Hearn, I think, in Boazzi was to go down the Bivol road. I mean, well, that's gone now. Beterbiev, I mean, that mandatory, when is it going to be called? He's not in action until next year. And it looks like Anthony Yard has dibs on him. Callum Johnson, they did, like, I kind of didn't want to see him fight Callum Johnson, truth be told, because I just think that Callum Johnson is shot to pieces, and that would be a fairly easy win for Boazzi. And I think Team Hearn knew that like, at the end of the day, what's the point in just getting him to run out and knock over Callum Johnson, you know, looking as bad as he does nowadays? There's no real point there. They obviously want to step him up, and I think against Pascal it's a big risk, because Pascal, albeit he was, on something at the time. To me, it's still interesting. It's reportedly, though, if this fight does happen, there's a good chance it'll be on BT Sport, which is just an even more kind of, say what, for Matchroom and DAZN. He said that there's a deal between Warren and Ludabella. So, I don't know. It's a strange one. It's a real strange one, that. It's a real strange one. In terms of some fights being announced, Joe Cordina will defend the super middleweight or super featherweight world title against Shakrav Rakhimov. Good fight, lads. Very good fight. Very interesting fight. I have to say, Joe Cordina is one of them fighters who I slept on very much over the last few years. I always saw him as being, he was the dark horse in the Team GB, if you think about it, because he didn't really have anything to him, if you know what I mean. He wasn't a big ticket seller, sort of, I thought anyway. He didn't have this personality that endeared you. He wasn't looking amazingly explosive or big power puncher or fast or all them things you look for. And yet he's done more than people like Fowler, who I thought, well, I never really rated Fowler that highly, so I wasn't surprised he lost. But I did expect Buatsi to do more. Who else from that squad? Never really rated Cash, to be honest with you, so again, he's, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Can't think. There was obviously a Coley. I didn't think he'd do as good as he did. And that's really it then. I can't really think of anyone else from that squad. Oh, Kelly, of course. I had a feeling he'd get knocked out sooner or later, to be fair. But Cordina, I never really thought much of, but he's proven me wrong. I'm not surprised this next bit has happened. Parker versus Joyce, which is going to happen on September 24th. Interim WBO heavyweight title is going to be on the line, lads. Not too surprised. It would mean that if Undisputed happens and the winner was to vacate, then Joyce or Parker would be upgraded to full champion. So potentially there is a chance that the winner of this fight may not necessarily get a title shot, but maybe elevated to full champion before not too long. So I'm not surprised they've done that. I expected that, to be honest with you. So interim WBO title on the line with a potential crack at Undisputed, or at the very least you'll get elevated to full champion. Which is basically what the interim title is. It's a glorified mandatory, basically. If it was just mandatory, you'd fight the next available opponent for the vacant title. If you're the interim, you get the title. Happy days. Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua's comeback. The fight I want to happen is Dillian Whyte. It's not going to happen in his first fight back in December, but it's a massive fight next year. So he's basically saying that he believes Anthony Joshua's going to come back in December. He's going to have a run out against whoever, I don't know. But Dillian Whyte was a name that people were asking. He said it's not going to be him. I suspect it won't. I think he's fighting a certain Triple D. And instead, he's probably going to look to do Dillian Whyte next year. Now, obviously, if Dillian Whyte beats Daniel Dubois, well, they can sell it as a world title fight, can't they? Dillian Whyte has got himself a pay-per-view rematch with Anthony Joshua, make a lot of money, sell it as a world title fight. I wouldn't be so confident picking him over Dubois. I'd probably go with Dubois, and I know Dubois, I picked him before, like I did it. Originally, I picked him to beat Joe Joyce, then I was like, what the hell did I do? And he's still quite unproven, but I probably would at this stage just favour him over Dillian Whyte, just ever so slightly. Now, Eddie Hearn was quoted as saying that he wasn't sure if Fury would be actually fighting Oleksandr Usyk, if Fury wanted that fight. So he was asked by IFL and he said, what does Fury want? 500 mil? Well, he ain't getting anywhere near. So maybe he doesn't take the fight. I'm not so sure he does. If he's a man of his word, we all know he isn't, then 500 mil or not, he isn't fighting. So, look, I suspect, because Frank Warren has clapped back at Eddie Hearn as well, because, he said that Eddie Hearn said Fury doesn't want this, he said this, but Frank Warren came out and said, well, you said Joshua would knock out Usyk twice, and it didn't happen. So Warren is loving the fact that he's able to just kind of, I don't want to say kick a man while he's down. In some ways, maybe he is, but Warren strikes me as a guy who'd do that anyway. But with this fight, look, I suspect it will happen. I think both parties will make the fight. I didn't like what I was hearing from Tyson Fury, to be fair, pre-AJ Usyk too, when he was saying in one interview 500 mil to fight Usyk, and the next interview he was saying if AJ wins, free, let's put it on terrestrial TV. I'm just like, what? Why fight him on terrestrial TV for free, and why fight him for $500 million? Makes no sense. Are you that confident of beating AJ that you think, don't need any money, I can beat this guy for free? But with Usyk, is it a case of, I want to be compensated because this guy is tough? I'm sure Fury can say all he wants about Usyk being a middleweight. Usyk's not a middleweight. He was a middleweight many moons ago when he fought Sean Porter back in the amateurs when they were both 16, 17. Usyk's 20 years older now. He's older than Fury. He's a heavyweight. And he's a dangerous heavyweight to anyone in the division. I'm not saying that he's unbeatable. Of course not. No one is. Would I pick Fury to beat him? Probably would. Truth be told, probably would. But it's a dangerous fight nonetheless. And I suspect Fury will take it. I think he will try and do undisputed. I think that the money will be there. Not $500 million, but a lot of money. And I think they'll try and make it for next year. I really do. As for AJ, I suspect he'll have a run out in December. I don't see why not. Against who? Again, that's a real question. Will they get an Otto Wallin in? Maybe a southpaw? Just to say, look, that little box is ticked. You can knock out a southpaw. Would you put him in? God forbid, but would you do Chisora? Really? Would you actually? I mean, that could... I don't want to see that, but I wouldn't be shocked if I did. And then maybe look at Dylan White and think, yeah, if you beat Dubois, we've got a title. We will sell it as a world title. And there you go. We're back in business. We're back in business. So maybe they'll do something like that. I don't know. But that's pretty much that. So, purse bids with Eddie Hearn not going his way. It's been a while since he's won a purse bid, truth be told. But at the end of the day, like, speaking of the purse bid, you have to understand from his point of view. And I'm going on the defense a bit here. I've no affiliation with Hearn. Don't know him. Never met him. But how much does he really think the Zone are going to make from Buatsi versus Pascal? Is he really going to put his hand in his pocket and say, take my money, let's have this fight here? It'll fill out the O2. It won't fill out the O2. Will it do crazy numbers on the Zone? It won't do crazy numbers on the Zone. Hardcore fans are the only one who are going to watch it. So from Eddie Hearn, he's thinking, hang on a minute, we're losing. We've lost money on the Zone. Blavatnik has had to bail us out. He's had to put money into the Zone. Why the hell am I going to put 7 figures on the table if I know I'm not going to recoup them? But like, why would you? If you know for definite you're not going to recoup it and you're hemorrhaging money, well, why would you? This is logic. You have to think of logic. You have to think of a business point of view with something. Why would you do that? You know, you could say, oh, for your fighter. It's the end of the day. Like, I am trying to keep this gravy train rolling, and that means having to be smart for the time being with fights I have and fights I put on and purse bids. I'm not going to bid $1 million to make $500,000 and lose another $500,000. You know, so you just got to think of it like from that point of view. So it's interesting. It's really interesting what's going on. And of course, we've got fights on this week. We've got Liam Smith versus Wakino. I'm going to watch that. Not watch along, but we'll watch it if I'm not doing anything. I don't think I'll be doing anything this weekend. So, yeah, just thinking a lot. I'll be doing that a lot. Hell yeah. Jesus Christ. That's something that's been going on a lot lately. But, yeah, it's just... We have that this weekend to look forward to. Obviously, Shields Marshall is next week, and I'm really looking forward to that fight. I'll get a prediction video out for that, hopefully on Sunday. Can't wait for that fight. Really looking forward to that fight. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Hope you enjoyed the premiere. We will do a live tomorrow, lads. Live stream tomorrow. Jamie goes live at 7, between 7 and half 7. So we're going to try and time it for about 8:30, 8:45. We'll go live for an hour. Because I've missed the live streams. I've missed chatting with yous. I know a lot of people were asking what's up with your G, and I got a few messages. Long story, can't really talk about it, but we'll be okay and we will do live. I've been neglecting the channel. I can't do that. Can't be letting that happen. And yeah, I put too much work into this channel to just neglect it. So ain't gonna happen. We'll chat tomorrow. For now, I'll talk to you people. Smash the like button. I appreciate yous all. Peace.